Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management, a weekly conversation with area leaders about how to persevere during uncertain times. Now here's your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. Our show deals with leading in challenging times because we talk to people who are making things happen in Kansas and Northwest Kansas. And we're thankful for our guests today who help lead the Kansas National Guard in their respective areas of responsibility. Michael Liotta is the Kansas National Guard Deputy Director of Public Works, and Lieutenant Colonel Travis Ziegler, commander of the 997 Brigade Support Battalion in Hays. I think I said both of those right because that Brigade Support Battalion is a lot of words. So I'll start with you, Michael. Welcome to our program, and then we'll talk with Travis just a little bit about what's going to be happening north of Hays. Michael, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And when you look at north of Interstate, if you go up there, you're going to see an area that is mowed down. There was an open house or ribbon cutting, groundbreaking ceremony for a new building that's going to be part of the National Guard. Tell me what's happening north of the interstate off of Hall Street, because right now it's kind of level ground. It's been leveled and construction will start soon. But what's going to be there?
So we're going to construct a readiness center for the Kansas Army National Guard at that location. This project has been part of our long-range construction plan for more than 20 years. We were fortunate enough to get funding from the governor and the state legislature to fund most of the project. We also have some federal funds that will be part of the project. It'll be about a 39,000 square foot armory. And then there's going to be an outbuilding that we'll do vehicle maintenance in. That'll be about 10,000 square feet. The total project so far is $21 million. That includes the purchase of the land, the design, and the construction award amount. And the company that is going to construct the facility is a local company called PwC Incorporated. They have a very good reputation, and we're excited to work with them on this project.
Well, that's a big project, Michael, when you take a look at not only the size of that, and I have a note here that it says it's going to be a two-story building. So what all will take place in that building versus, you mentioned, ready mix place, vehicle maintenance. What else takes place there?
So that'll be home to Colonel Ziegler's unit, the 997th. And so they'll have their regular armory operations out of there. And then also will probably be a Starbase satellite program in the first floor of that armory.
Well, it all sounds exciting. And Lieutenant Colonel, I know you're standing by here and ready to talk about what you and your soldiers are going to be doing out there. But before I go there, what's happening to the old armory? Because there's another armory building that has been here, I don't know how many years, but forever comes to mind. What's going to happen with the old armory building that's down on the south end of town?
Yeah, so the old armory was built in 1956, and it's about 16,000 square feet. And so most of our armories were built in that 1950s era, and they were just smaller buildings that that aren't adequate for the size of equipment and the amount of equipment that we have nowadays. And then also that site's also kind of landlocked. We can't really expand our motor vehicle storage compound or the building there. It's also in a floodplain. And the address of that one is 200 Main Street in Hays there. We're working through the disposition. Basically, we have a lease document that was done in the 1950s. So we're working with the Kansas Department of the OFPM, Office of Facilities and Property Management, to dispose of that property properly, basically.
Okay, but there'll be a transition once this other building is built. Anything down there is going to move out to the north side of Hall Street. So you're going to go from the south facilities, and you're vacating everything down at the 200 Main facility, correct?
Yes, we will vacate everything, and it depends on when that construction is done, and then also when we can get furniture into the new facility. that's when the unit will move. We're anticipating that to be potentially the fall of 2026 or very early in calendar year 2027.
Well, a lot of work's going to go into this. Let's pull Lieutenant Colonel Ziegler in. You guys are going to be working from this new facility, but first off, the National Guard in Kansas and Ellis County. How many are in Ellis County and our Northwest Kansas region?
Yeah, well, first I want to thank you for covering this story. Not just for the fact that the new building's being constructed, but for what it represents to the local community and there in Hays and the surrounding communities across western Kansas, to the Starbase program and to the Kansas Guard. We really appreciate those who really supported this initiative. Governor Kelly, Senator Moran, all the other state, district, and local officials, and also the DPW here, Colonel retired Washauer and Mike Liotta, helping us out and doing it for the Guard for the future. But to get to your question, the 997 BSB or Brigade Support Battalion headquarters, we're assigned around an authorized strength of about 117 soldiers, and includes staff officers. My entire battalion, which consists of about 6 subordinate companies across Kansas, we hold an authorized strength of over 700. So our footprint is literally from Colby, Kansas to Olathe, Kansas, which is pretty close to 80,000 square miles.
Well, one of the things I know that the National Guard overall has, I guess, been pushed to the front of the news because of things that's happened in other states and other places, including Washington, D.C. There's so many things the National Guard is doing to be able to help with emergency response in many different areas. So when you're talking about things that happen in the new building here, that's going to facilitate the National Guard really across the state. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah,
And
we go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So really, we're looking forward to it, and yeah, we've got a large mission set, both state and federal. So we're ready for anything.
So when you talk about National Guard, you say ready for everything. What has that included in the last few years? Because I think a lot of times you say, okay, it has to be one thing or another, but I think the National Guard gets called out on anything, whether it be disruption, weather, et cetera. What all does that include?
Yeah, that includes anything storm related, state emergency response. Obviously our when no demand like that is occurring, we're training for worst possible scenarios. But federal missions, we help support initiatives outside of the state. So we do a lot for the National Guard Bureau and for the Army.
If I was in your shoes, Lieutenant Colonel Ziegler, I would be excited to get this new building here because I believe you're still actively recruiting for National Guard service members, correct?
That is correct, yeah. And just to get that face out there, the new building, visible from I-70, we're out there. So, I would venture to say, some of the local, some of the locals probably didn't know we had an armory in Hays. So being able to have that building visible, have our sign out there, I'm hoping we can bring in some recruits and to train them up and be the next leadership for the future of the Kansas Guard.
So before we take a break, and we're going to talk about the new program that was mentioned by Senator Moran, the Starlink program, or Starbase program. But for those of us that aren't deep in the military, we're just happy that it's there to help us when we need to and defend us, et cetera. How does the National Guard facility here different from other, say, military bases or buildings that are here? How do you guys separate that out?
How do we separate it from different buildings?
Yeah, yeah, I know there's some other facilities here that represent other activity by the military. It seems to me like you guys have a responsibility to Kansas that maybe some of the others don't, and maybe put all of Kansas in that whole
Sure. Yeah.
bucket.
So typically, what you see is Army Reserve and Army National Guard are a lot of people think of them as pretty similar. The main difference between the Army National Guard and the Army Reserve is the Reserve is a federal asset, whereas the National Guard is an asset to the state and to the federal when called up federally. So our Readiness Center differs from other military facilities in that this will be a facility that is owned by the state of Kansas. It's not on federal land or a federal installation, and it's a Readiness Center that is going to support both state and federal mission sets as required to do. And so National Guard Bureau in DC, they have a facility design criteria booklet that we use to identify the different spaces of a building that are required for a Readiness Center to meet the needs of the unit.
Yeah, well, that answers my question because the primary responsibility is for Kansas and to be able to serve Kansas and maybe called out. I interviewed some folks that ended up traveling down to the flood and helping down in the flood area, some teams of people from Kansas. And so I can see that happening in this case where the National Guard would be called out. But the primary responsibility you have is to the state of Kansas. And I appreciate that a bunch. So stay with us here, both of you guys. And we're going to take a break and come back and talk about the Defense Starbase program. That sounds really cool. We'll be back after this on Forward Ever, brought to you by Worth Wealth Management.
Since 1776, the United States of America continues to stand tall. It's been tested before, many times. Through grit and the ability to move forward, we create better tomorrows. We help our clients live their best lives to and through retirement. We make it easier. Thank you, Kansas. Worth Wealth Management, enhancing lives and strengthening families.
Welcome back to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times with our guest, Michael Leota, Kansas National Guard Deputy Director of Public Works, and Lieutenant Colonel Travis Ziegler, who's the commander of the 997 Brigade Support Battalion here in Hays. We've been talking about the brand new building you're going to see north on Hall Street, across the interstate, right across the interstate. If you go over there now, you'll see that the property has been, I guess, mowed down, leveled down. You'll see, obviously, some groundbreaking take place, but that doesn't build a building. It gets the building started, so it's going to be started pretty soon. One of the things that was discussed in the groundbreaking ceremony, Senator Moran talked about the Defense Department's Starbase program. Now, that sounds really cool. I'm going to talk and ask our guest, who is Michael Leota of the Kansas National Guard. What's the Starbase program?
So, hey, I'll take over for Mike. This is Lieutenant Colonel Ziegler. So one of the biggest things is, yes, absolutely, the Starbase program is an outstanding program. And as you know, it's the DoD Youth program, outreach program. It has 5 current locations across Kansas. One's in Kansas City, one's in Manhattan, Salina, Topeka, and Wichita. Hays will hopefully be the 6th to support all of Western Kansas. The mission really for Starbase is to provide 21st century experiential learning to students while supporting area schools meeting or exceeding the national standards in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So all of that combined is STEM, and so it's for our future leaders. So it really focuses on elementary students, primarily 5th graders, and really their goal is to explore science, technology, engineering, and math as for future generations. So our scientists, our entrepreneurs, our IT techs, our researchers, developers, pilots, future soldiers, teachers, all of the above for our future.
Now that sounds really cool because you start talking about that, but you say it's limited to fifth graders. It sounds like something I would want to enroll in, but I'm guessing I'm probably past the age to be able to do that, correct?
Yeah, unfortunately so.
So the STEM program, is that going to be started when the building is finished, or are you going to start offering that to students before that?
Yep, so the building will need to be complete before they're able to hold classes there, because the Starbase program has teachers that would be assigned there. And so it'll depend on when that building is done. The soonest it would happen would be that spring of 2027, but you're probably looking at fall of 2027 or possibly spring of 2028 before Starbase is able to operate out there.
Boy, that sounds fun. Just to say there's going to be a Starbase Education Center just sounds something really cool for those of us in Northwest Kansas and specifically Hays there. So thanks for talking about all of this. Before we leave the program, though, I just want to say thank you to you and the team that do all the work, because when things, they're not good things. When bad things happen, you guys are right there and right in the middle of it, and you and the soldiers of the 997 Brigade Support Battalion are right there to do that. Somebody is out there saying, I really like this. I'd love to be a part of the Kansas National Guard. Where do they go sign up today if they're listening to this program and saying, this sounds really cool? How do I get to be a part of it? Where do they go?
So the Kansas Army National Guard has a website that they can go out to and click and enter their information. We've got recruiters out there everywhere. We've got a recruiter in Hays itself. You can go to any of the armories and stop by and have conversations with them, get information. And I tell you, if you're looking for education, if you're looking for full-time jobs, benefits, the Kansas Guard has it.
Well, exciting to do that. Exciting to talk to you guys, and even more exciting to know what's going to be happening. So when you go north out of town on Hall Street, you go over the bridge and you see all this project getting happen. Now you know what's taking place. Hope to have you back on again as we get closer to this, especially to talk about the Starbase program and what's going to happen there. But it's going to be exciting to see that because it will be a cool project, not only for Hays, but for anybody that's in the state of Kansas to know that the Kansas Army National Guard is there to protect us and help us when we have need. So thank you for being a part of our program today.
Thank you for having us. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys being here, and thanks for all you do. Our guest today, Michael Liotto, who's the Kansas National Guard Director of Public Works and Deputy Director of Public Works, and Lieutenant Colonel Travis Ziegler, Commander of the 997 Brigade Support Battalion right here in Hays. Thanks for listening to our program, Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. It's brought to you by Worth Wealth Management. I'm Gary Shorman.
Thanks for joining us for Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management. Join us right here next week for another episode with host Gary Shorman. Until then, remember to move forward ever, backward never.